Yes, I believe the petitioners at that time had gone to court arguing that this is a fundamental right, and clearly those arguments didn't work because you have to then go to the touchstone of essential religious practice. Now, incidentally, the petitioners in court are saying, no, don't go into essential religious practice, possibly realizing that it will not be established as an essential religious practice because we know from our basic human experience that not all Muslim women wear the hijab. In fact, insisting, as some petitioners have done in court, that it is obligatory on all Muslim women, condemns the Muslim women who don't wear the hijab. We've got two more advocates joining us. Arnav A, I want to come to you because you were initially representing one of the hijab petitioners. Don't you believe that there was indeed, quote unquote, an unseen hand? Would you be willing to concede that today, as the Karnataka High Court order also mentioned?
First of all, thank you for having me in the show. One thing is that there is no involvement of the PFI, and that's pretty sure of that. As per whatever has been stated so far with regard to the 2021 involvement of the PFI, these girls have joined the PUC college much earlier. And in fact, at that time of joining, their ID cards itself, they are wearing so, you know, question of PFI involvement is another rouse of the advocates in the Supreme Court, specifically the SG, to dissect, to derail rather the major issue, which is a constitutional issue. Now, the PFI's involvement or not has no relevance with regard to deciding the constitutional issue.
Yeah, it wouldn't eventually, but isn't it important to discuss the sequence of events? You are saying that their ID cards have the girls wearing hijab. I don't think any one of us are denying that these girls wore hijab outside of the school or even in the school campus. But we have also seen pictures, Arnav, of these same girls inside assemblies and in classrooms not wearing the hijab from 2010 and other years preceding 2021.
But at 2010, those children were not part of the... See, this is a PUC college, particularly we were where the petitioners were studying in. So in 2010, they were definitely not in PUC.
I'm saying other girls.
At that time, when they had joined PUC, is when is the relevant time. And
but even when they joined the PUC, some of the petitioners were in the second year. They weren't wearing the hijab in their first year. Is that true or not?
They were wearing hijab.
I have not seen any of those pictures. Where are those pictures then?
The identity cards, all of them had them wearing
identity card doesn't prove that they were wearing it inside classrooms, sir.
No, there is enough and more proof. There are, just because, you know.
Then why is it that whether the Karnataka High Court or the Supreme Court, no petitioner has ever argued that. No petitioner has ever shown proof.
We have argued that, and there was no requirement of showing proof, and the state government themselves have conceded through their statement of objections, where they have shown pictures of the students wearing the hijab. So the question of that, I don't see...
where have they shown these pictures? I don't know what you're talking about. Today, the Solicitor General has once again reiterated that none of these girls were wearing the hijab before 2021.
That's the way to derail. The question right now is...
But that's the same thing they said in front of Karnataka High Court.
Or not it's a essential religious practice or a fundamental right. For which that needs to be answered.
That definitely needs to be answered. I have no problems with that. That, of course, the Supreme Court will decide. Kapil Sankhla is also joining us. Kapil Sankhla, I feel that the goalpost in this hijab debate and the hearings also has been consistently shifting. First, it was about essential religious practice. When it became evident that, you know, hijab was not going to win that argument because, as I said, not all Muslim women wear the hijab, it became about fundamental rights. It became about, choosing. When it was about fundamental rights, you know, the institution's rights also, in some cases, are over and above an individual's choice. When they found that this argument is also not standing, it became about, but who does the hijab hurt? Why not just allow it? Is it a matter of public order? To the extent that, you know, petitioners are also going on to say, why am I being asked to choose between my hijab and the education? Nobody's asking you to choose. Have both. You know, so the whole goalpost has been shifting. You look at all the petitioners. There are some 23 petitions in court. You look at all the petitioners, they're all making very different arguments. To the extent some are going to court and saying it's obligatory on all Muslim women.
I know, it is quite shocking as to what is happening. And what is actually interesting is that they have absolutely no legal basis or constitutional basis. I just heard Dr. Ambedkar here talking about why it is an essential practice, why it should be permitted. The question is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in his book himself had raised questions on the wearing of hijab. He said even parda system and hijab are detrimental and against the right of equality and against the constitutional mandate that has been given. So today when they are arguing about Article 26 or Article 25 or Article 14, right to equality, etc., they have to understand that equality is also between man and woman. And as far as, you know, they have already given up on the argument about essential religious practice.
They have.
Because it is not an essential religious practice.
Yeah.
Interestingly, yes, in fact, it actually comes back, and it is very interesting that it is the first time it is mentioned is in the hadith, and in the hadith at a much later date. It's not a part of the Quran at all. And where in Quran it actually talks about, it doesn't talk about a face scarf or anything like that. It talks about a parda between where the men and the women move in the house.
No, but Kapil, I went through the arguments that, for example, Mr. Pasha has made in this case. He's gone on to say that it's not just about the Quran.
Right.
What is said in the hadith and what is the Prophet claims to have said or done is equally obligatory on Muslims. So there are still some petitioners who are arguing that the hijab is obligatory on all Muslim women.
Well, what is really interesting is the meaning of hijab as given there is also different.
Yeah.
It does not mean a face scarf or a face cover or a head cover.
It means
so
a partition.
At the end of the day, if you see, there are two arguments. Either you talk about, it means a partition. And there are two parts of it. Either you're talking about your fundamental rights.
Yeah.
Or you're talking about, and in that you're talking about essential religious practices. You've already given up.
One second. Let Kapil finish. Sir, I'm coming to you. Let Kapil finish.
The second part is that you talk about binding precedents, and the third is their argument, but the second part is binding precedents of the Honorable Supreme Court. Two judgments directly against them. They have not met those arguments. One of them has already been mentioned in the court, which is Ismail Farooqi versus Union of India, where the Honorable Supreme Court clearly stated, as far as Article 25 and 26 is concerned, that religious practice which forms part of integral essential practice of religion can only be seen only essential practices and not otherwise. The other is as far as the right of the institute itself is there. Institution itself is there. Which is Fatima Tasneem versus State of Kerala, in which it was held that collective right of an institution would be given primacy over the individual rights of a petitioner, rightly so. I might belong to a school where there is very, very rich people and very poor people. The uniform, as also stated by Justice Gupta, is a great leveler. It does not distinguish between whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're saffron, whether you're green, blue or whatever. It just says you are a member of that institute, you are a student, and that is what your wajud, that is who you are. And that is what is important.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think what Mr. Tushar Mehta said was absolutely right, that a uniform is uniform for everyone.
Yeah. You know, this